why. How many times a week do we ask this question? Nowadays, the world seems to be spinning out of control, leaving many people confused. Is God angry? Is the world as we know it coming to an end? Why are we not always protected from harm? And why do Christians have to suffer from hardship, loss, and disease? Is this the will of God? And has He turned His back on us? These are all questions that have confused the righteous people of God throughout history. Even from the beginning, we see that the Apostle Paul healed people and raised people from the dead, yet could not heal himself. He suffered many years with a metaphorical thorn in his side. And exactly what this ailment was, we will probably never know for sure. But Paul understood it to be the will of God that he endure it to keep him humble and dependent on God. I'm here today to tell you that no matter what hardships we go through in this life, God promises that all things will work for the good of those who love Christ and serve Him. I want to share with you my story of God giving me beauty for ashes. I actually have several stories like this in my life, but for now I'll only tell you my most recent adventure with God. I've struggled on and off with depression, anxiety, and an inferiority complex pretty much all of my life. But 4 months ago, this hereditary chemical imbalance within my brain reached epic proportions. I became dangerously suicidal and reckless with alcohol, even though my life was wonderful and everything was going great. I had absolutely no reason to want to check out of this life. But the chemical balance took away my will to live. My mother actually had to stay with us for 3 weeks because I was on 24/7 suicide watch for nearly a month. I, of course, thank God for my family and friends that kept me from doing myself in while we waited for the medications to slowly take effect. I thank God for the Christian nurse practitioner and the medical care that I received. But it has been a very long and frustrating road to recovery. The medication took many, many weeks to be effective, and I'm still plagued with the side effects. So I still sometimes say, why, God, why? Now, let me tell you another true story. For years, I have asked God to help me to see people the way Jesus saw people, to love people the way Jesus unconditionally loved people. For years, I have asked God to help me to lose a little weight too, so I can feel a little more comfortable in my own skin. For years, I've also asked God to change my personality so I am more patient with people and better at keeping my mouth shut when I have nothing good to say. And this is related to my prayers for God to help me to be a blessing to my boss and his business, and it is related to wanting a deeper relationship with my husband and family. I've asked God in the past year to deliver me from drinking too much alcohol, and for the longest time I've asked God to take away my ungodly pride. So, needless to say, I've had a long laundry list of what I wanted God to fix in me over the past few years. And you know what? God answered every one of those prayers through one episode of mental illness, out of the ashes of my mental meltdown. God helped me to understand that we all have unseen inner pain and turmoil that spills into our outer lives. So it is unfair of me to judge people from their exterior. God has shown me that I need to search people's hearts to truly appreciate and have compassion on people. And this revelation has made it so much easier for me to love people, all people. And not only that, the medication has helped me to lose a little weight and feel better about myself. And it has also helped me to be a more patient and less irritable person to be around, which has greatly helped my relationships with others. I no longer abuse alcohol because it is dangerous for me to drink of my medication. And as a matter of fact, God has taken away my craving for it altogether. And finally, the realization that I am too weak and powerless to change myself has taken away most of the ungodly pride left within me. I'm now nearly 100% dependent on the Holy Spirit and not just myself. And if you don't think a whole lot of my testimony, I have another story of beauty for ashes from a young mother that's rather close to me. She writes, and this is kind of edited from the original content to protect identities and whatnot. She writes this. My mother was my best friend. We did go through a lot of things in our lives, though. When I was 14, I was taken away from her because she basically went crazy, and my dad was in prison, so I was put in a foster home for almost 2 years. My mom got her life back on track, and I moved back with her, but that only lasted so long. I would drink with her and throw parties at my house. Everyone thought my mother was so cool. She was just trying to be my friend instead of my mother. My son's father and I have a very interesting story. He was 16 and I had just turned 18 when I had our son. He was very controlling and very abusive. He punched me in my stomach when I was almost 3 months pregnant, and all he did was sit in jail for 2 days. My mother passed away also when I was 3 months pregnant, and I moved in with my dad. I didn't have any other choice at the time. My son's father and I did get back together, and I was young and stupid, and when my son was born, his dad got into trouble and went on the run, but he came back when my son was 6 months old, but he hasn't been back since. He too is currently in prison, and I have not talked to him since, so it has been about 2 years. It's very hard being a single mother. I don't have anyone really to help me out, and I don't get to go out and have fun anymore like a normal 21-year-old should. I live in a low-income housing because it's hard with going to school and work to be able to afford a regular apartment. But I keep to myself and just remind myself that after school things will be better. I know my mother is in a better place, and I don't wish she would have passed away, but if she was still around, I would probably be like all these other young mothers out here and going out partying and sleeping around. With her being gone, it has made me grow up so much and become so mature, and I thank God for that. I believe that my son was my miracle when she passed away, because if I had not been pregnant when she passed away, I would have started drinking really bad and doing drugs and so on. So now I look at it like everything I grew up knowing and how I was raised. Well, I will not raise my son like that, so I look at it like a life lesson. So there you have it. 2 accounts of the overwhelming beauty that God has given for our ashes. God explained it to me in a recent vision. Kind of like the houses that my husband and I helped to gut in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. Sometimes God metaphorically guts us and then rebuilds us brand new, bigger and better, but then stronger than before. Now I'm living every day more and more in God's kingdom and becoming less and less tied to this dying earth and Satan's nonsense. So you see, God can use everything for the good of those who love Him if we simply open our lives and hearts to receive it. That's all for this week. God bless, and we'll catch up with you next time.